And we were formed in order to help build trade between the Caribbean and Africa. In the Caribbean, to ship something from the Eastern Caribbean to the Bahamas, it would have to go through the US and back down to the Bahamas. And to get from Africa to the Caribbean, it would have to go through Europe and back down to the Caribbean.
So the question is, how do we use that money to favor companies that respect our interests?
We are spending our money and putting it back into the European economy. And how are they, apart from wages?
If you want to move from Abidjan to Accra, you need to move from first Abidjan to Paris, from Paris to London, and from London to Accra. But you see, this Abidjan and Accra are just two adjacent cities.
But if I showed them that they could pay 3 times less from another source, then they will understand it. People don't understand.
What is the approach of showing this number so that people can be convinced of it?
We need to just do direct comparisons.
For those of you that are joining us, this is really an interesting conversation. Melissa has been here before, where she talked about a good experience that she was going to have in Ghana, because she was going to organize an event in Accra that was going to connect the diaspora to Africa, to Ghana. And of course, if you know what we do here now, you see how much we are very passionate about those kind of initiatives that connect Africans to their roots, particularly those of us in the diaspora. We have a special connection to that part of communication. So yeah, this is what we're going to be exploring today. So Melissa is going to be sharing with us her experience in Ghana and what that could mean to you too. That is, maybe you're in the diaspora, you'll be thinking, maybe I should visit Africa. So you're going to be hearing for the horse's mouth today. So Melissa, start by telling us your experience. Okay, first let's start by telling us who you are. That is important. Let's start from there.
I am Melissa Darville, and I am the CEO of ACT LCG, which is the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Logistics Consulting Group. And we were formed in order to help build trade between the Caribbean and Africa.
All right. That is a very good point. It's a very good point to actually start with. You see, here I am just now. I've not really changed my clothes. I went to the city council in Verona, the city where I am, to introduce to them about DMTEP, which is a project connecting the African diaspora to their root. We really have been having a lot of interesting conversation all these months, all these weeks, by people in the tourism business in Africa connecting with us, because they are interested. Anytime they come to the website and see what we are putting in place, they really fall in love with it. So I say, okay, we are in Italy, we are in Verona. Let us also go to the government and tell them, hey, let's look at the possible opportunity that we can share with the people, because this city have a lot to offer in terms of tourism. So let's see how we can also promote that to people that are out of this place, no? So it was an interesting conversation, because there are a lot of things came out, a lot of point tips that they also share with us that we can leverage together, so that because I don't think it's most of the things that we are doing, I think that we should be doing in isolation. We need everybody on deck to make sure that it is successful. So when you talk about connecting the diaspora to Ghana, that is really an interesting conversation. So share with us now your experience.
We had a wonderful time, and we were received well by the Ghanaian community. And what is so energizing and encouraging to us is that they are building their industry, and they're so open to having assistance and to joining with us to build in the industry. And it's something that's going to benefit both of our regions, because the Caribbean is, though it's small, we do have a lot of import that we do for goods. And also we have a great need to learn to be resilient. And these are things that connects us directly with Africa, because instead of importing goods just from the US and China and looking at how things are going with that now, we can embrace trade with Africa. And Africa is looking for new partners and new people to send their final goods and goods to. And so we're looking for food items, construction, textiles, beauty aids, everything, because about 90% of the goods in the Caribbean are imported. And so if we can find another source and a competitive source and with great pricing, this would be excellent. Now, the thing was that what was holding us back before is logistics. There wasn't a good direct route from Africa to the Caribbean. And what we were successful at, and I would say I have to applaud our CFO, Sabrina LaFleur. She put her foot down with this MOU, and we worked as a team, and we created something and got a great partnership with the McDan Group, who is one of the leaders in logistics in Africa. And so right now we have a MOU where we would be collaborating and building out a venture to promote trade, logistics, and culture between the regions.
That is lovely. You see, let's take it one piece at a time, because we need to find a solution to the problem that we have. We need to first of all understand that we have challenges, no? But by finding solution to those challenges, we're even building businesses for ourselves, because business is nothing more than finding a solution to the problem of the people. So we are the same people. We have the challenges. We find a solution to those problems, and by doing that, we are building businesses. And that is using one stone now to kill two birds. So you talk of logistics. I want us to spend some time there. What do you mean by that? Looking at Africa and the diaspora. In this sense, of course, that is definitely the Caribbean included.
The Caribbean, yes. We don't have direct trade. Direct trade isn't there. Usually within the Caribbean, to ship something from the Eastern Caribbean to the Bahamas, it would have to go through the US and back down to the Bahamas. And to get from Africa to the Caribbean, it would have to go through Europe and back down to the Caribbean. So we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We can have a more cost-efficient logistical route if we work directly. However, we need to have the volume, and we need to have the businesses, and we need to have everyone aware of the possibilities to get this done. And it's not just sea trade, it's air trade as well. So we want to get people traveling, experiencing culture. So we want to get the direct flights from Africa to the Caribbean. We want to get cargo freight from Africa to the Caribbean, which would help small businesses so much, because we know in order to ship sea freight, you need a pallet, you need a container worth. However, if we're shipping via air, you can send package to package, and I'm calling it, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. We can work micro business to micro business. We can develop the trade, not monopolies and large corporations who can afford to ship the, which is the $4,500 to $5,000. You can just send your one package. So if you personally meet another person who's interested in your product, in your dresses, in your jewelry, you can just pack at your own limit and work with what you have and air ship that to that person. And that's something where we're going to start. We had already approached our post office, our Postmaster General. We are able to send mail to Ghana. However, there is just some documents that need to be signed in order to initiate it. And so that's what we're trying to do. We need to get the paperwork in place so that we can trade between each other. And, you know, it's said that, oh, well, there isn't a need, but there is a need. It's just that we've been doing it the more expensive way. Yes, you can go to DHL. Yes, you can do the FedEx, which has to go to the US and back down and back across to Africa. But how about if we could get those trade routes more direct? We can do some saving. And also in this trade, you can't have business without finances. We have to figure out the barriers with trade, with money and currency. Because even within the Caribbean, there was a lady who was doing some work for us, and it was like a $90 USD that we had to pay to her, and it was going to cost us $50 to send her $90. That isn't realistic in any world. In any world, that is not realistic. So these financial prices that are in place are not in place to promote business. So we need to identify them and we need to find out why. Why is that rate so high? And then we need to what? Circumvent it. We need to create something else. And what I loved about what I saw going on in Ghana is the direct pay using the phone, the mobile apps, and you can pay, you can buy your food and you can just pay right there with your phone. You can transfer money person to person without intermediaries, without a lot of, red tape. We need things like that. And I understand that the control of currency is an issue. Central bank, we have to work with central bank, we have to work with different agencies. So we're not just it's not just about persons who have physical businesses and want to trade. We're also reaching out to the fintech community. We're reaching out to you. What can you create to help us to be able to trade amongst each other? And calling not just the people still in the Caribbean, we're calling out to the people in the UK, we're calling out to the people in the US, because you already have the knowledge and you're most likely working for someone else's fintech company, but you have the skills and you have the ability to do it yourself. Create something then. Create something for your people so that we can trade easily. Because if we can't get the money to each other, then that's also a controlling mechanism. So there are things that are in place that have controlled the direction of trade. But it's not, these are things that we can circumvent. These are things that we can lobby against. These are things that we can create. And it's like, you want to ask someone to trade and ship directly to you, but you're asking them to do something for you with their own vessel. So this is the time for us to own our own vessels. And then we could say what route we want. This is the time for us to own our own ports. So we can say where we're going to dock. This is the time for countries to have that deep sea trenches so that the ships can get back into the shipping lanes, into the shipping zones, because some countries don't have it. And so they're excluded from these routes. And so let's put the things in place that we need in order to get business done amongst ourselves and save money. Because what we're not saying is that these obstacles create wealth for other people. And that's it right there. It creates wealth. As long as we have to use their route, their financial mechanisms, there's a cut in it for them. So let's cut out the middleman and let's create things so that we can have some cost effectiveness, so that we can save money and we can trade and keep the dollars working within the diaspora.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, by working for the diaspora now, it means also working for Africa. So a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing one of the leaders of Mattei Plan in Italy. A couple of, recently, the project is still on. The current Prime Minister of Italy initiated a program that they call the Mattei Plan, where they amongst something in the tone of about 5.5 billion euro for a project dedicated to Africa. But it's not really a straightforward, it's not a straightforward plan. There is a lot of red wires around it, no? That even though they said that an African country can apply for this money, okay, it's not that $5.5 billion is such a huge amount of money to start with anyway. So it's a small money, though, because when you say you put that for Africa, it's not like, okay, oh, now every Africa problem is solved now. No, that is a small amount of money. But of course, a country like Italy putting that on the ground for a business to West Africa is already a great initiative. Actually, what I was saying there is that we need to make it easy for the people that it is destined to. Because what I found that talking to the person who I was connected to in Milan is that for you to access that money, you need to work with Italian business. And this money is almost give it to an Italian business who is sort of in charge in it. In case something go wrong, they know who to hold. They can't hold you accountable. But I was saying, but why is it wired like this? And if you look at the entire plan, the entire Mattei plan, you don't have, it's like they just totally ignore the Africans in Italy. 1 million people of African descent are living in Italy. How could you put this in plan if the intention is actually to I don't know. It's not really a help program. It's not a help program at all. It's to help Italian businesses to enter into the African market or operate more in the African market. But anyway, I am sort of in line with what you're saying, that when this European government are designing their program, they are designing it in a way that they can win, in a way that it can be successful for them. Of course, it have always been like this. Nobody should be thinking otherwise about it. So I think what we can learn from it as Africans is that we should know that we also control a lot of money. There is a lot of money in the community, but the only thing that is happening is that we don't control the money in most of the cases.
Mm-hmm.
The money just passes through our hands now. And
Yes.
if we don't control it to invest in the way that it can benefit us. So I think the time I've come to sort of start figuring out where are we getting it wrong. Because imagine a person that is working, even say maybe you are earning the salary. If you calculate it at the end of the year, how much money passed through your hand, you see that it's a lot of money. But if you've been working now for like 30, 40 years, there is a huge amount of money that have passed through your hands. So you can say that money didn't pass through our hand. So the question is, how do we use that money to favor company that respect our interests? Because when you win now as a diaspora, then you help other people that look like you to also win. I think that is part of the strategy that we need to put into consideration. Yeah, you wanted to say something there.
No, I was just going to have some balance, some balance. So just like you say, in a relationship, things should be reciprocal. So for us, it feels like money is just coming through us and right back. So it's not a reciprocal relationship. So once the money comes through, or we work at a certain place, the money comes through us for our labor, and then we have to pay it right back to get goods. And so we never really profiting from it. So what we have to do is work for ourselves, use our talent to create things, and sell it within our community so that the money turns around and we get to see the benefit of it, and sell and work with people who are reciprocating this financial relationship, because we are spending our money and putting it back into the European economy. And how are they, apart from wages, putting it back to us? So it has to be a balance. Like you have to trade balance. It's cash flow balance.
Thank you so much for that. I was just thinking as you were responding to that question, because you made mention of the challenges that we have, the logistics, no? That made me remember a book I read years ago, written by a Jamaica writer, Walter Rodney. I think Walter Rodney is from Jamaica, yeah. So the book was written in 1972. So Walter Rodney titled the book, How the West Underdeveloped Africa. Now, the point I want to point out there is this. Walter Rodney was making reference to Abidjan and Accra. That if you want to move from Abidjan to Accra, you need to move from first Abidjan to Paris, from Paris to London, and from London to Accra. So you see, this Abidjan and Accra are just two adjacent cities. The two adjacent cities in two countries in West Africa. So that is a symbolism, even though that is actually a reality. In the way that this is how the economy in Africa was designed, so that we are not connected among ourselves. It costs a lot to do business among ourselves as African than to do business with a European. This is a typical picture of it. And this was also designed like this. So why I'm saying this is that now we need to understand that this was not a mistake. It was designed like this. And now that we are thinking of breaking this red tape and making it possible for us to do business, what do you think maybe we should be doing? Because this was not a mistake. For the fact that in Africa, we have to have a lot of passport, a lot of red tape for us to even work among ourselves. Whereas if you are a European, you are American, it's easy for you to work across nearly all the 54 countries in Africa. Whereas for an African, it's not easy for you to move around in your own continent. It is not a mistake. It was intentionally designed like this. And now we want to break that yoke so that it can be easy for us to move. What do you think we should be considering?
We have to show the money. We have to show the difference in the money so people could understand and really know how much money is being spent that doesn't need to be spent. So we need to see that. And we also need to show who is profiting from this. We need to show, and with numbers, that this company profits this much because of this process. We need to show it so people understand it. And then we need to come up with new rules. We need to get people who are within the industry to say, look, recognize us as a spending block. This is the amount of money that we spend, and this is what we want. And then let's see who complies with it. And it may happen. It may happen because people want to progress and move forward and be modernized, or it can happen because you stop spending your money with them. But something has to happen so that we are recognized, that we know we have value and we have power in our dollar, and this is what we want. And sometimes the story could be that, well, people don't really want that. No, we don't have any records, or we don't have any, surveys or anything that's showing that people actually want that. This is another lie. So then what we need to do is we need to show it. We need to show it. Like, I've heard, people don't really want to source their goods from elsewhere. They don't really want it, really. But if I showed them that they could pay 3 times less from another source, then they will understand it. People don't understand because they don't see the comparison. So we need to do the direct comparison and show who is profiting from it, who is keeping you poor, who is living a life, not just a life, let me correct that, who is living generations and family generations of ease because of your poverty. That's what we need to show.
That's interesting. And what is your suggestion about that showing? Because now I think that there is one guy that say, show them, show me. So what is the approach to that? Is it like we need to document all the transactions? Is that we need to speak more on social media like you are doing today, sharing your experiences of what have happened to you, the good experiences, of course. Yeah, life is full of all the different challenges, no? But you have been able to go to Ghana, organize a beautiful event, and you are back. So you are not telling the story. You're not just imagining it, you have done it. So is it like that? Tell me, what is the approach of sharing, of showing this number so that people can be convinced of it?
We need to just do direct comparisons. We need to just get, product A and product B and say that, okay, I can buy this for $3 or I could buy this for $10. Which one would you prefer? And get people aware of it. We need to do the direct show and tell so that people can understand the actual dollar value. We can say this amount, your wages, 50% of your wages go towards this person because of this rule, and only because of that rule, no other reason. We can show that this is the port tax on all of these goods that goes to this particular group or this particular family. And this is why you pay it. You pay it to them, and this could have been your cost, but this is now your cost. We need to follow the money, because that's what gets people. Because they could be like, oh, you could tell them, oh, well, that's just a rule because that's how it is. No, but why? Go back and do that. That strategy where you ask, I think it's like 6 questions. So why is that the only port open? Oh, because this, why? You keep asking why until you get to the root of the question, to get to the root of the problem. And we have to have the confidence that we deserve the answer, because our money is not just cash. Our money is our life energy. I have $100 today because I worked 8 hours. So that $100 is not just $100. That $100 is 8 hours of my life. So when you overprice me for my life, you're taking my life energy. And we have to relate that. We have to be able to see that, because life is different in different areas, and the stress and the pressures that we face because of financial hardships cause shortness of life and health problems and stress, family abuse. All these things are caused because of money. Look at how many relationships are strained because of financial problems. Look at how many jobs people, you may have a job, but because of the financial strain of everything surrounded by it, you have to travel so far to get there. That's an added cost that nobody's compensating you for. You have to pay for childcare while you're at work. That's an added cost that someone else doesn't have. We have to look at these things as life energy. And that people are not just taking your money. They're not just cheating you or robbing you or overpricing you. They're taking your life, days and hours of your life that they don't have to take, you don't have to spend.
Thank you so much for that. And we're happy that people like you who are speaking with all this passion and energy for this positive change. We need the change. It's very
Yeah.
important for us. All right, Melissa, tell me something. We need also the money. I think you were referring to that before. I'm talking of financing this project. Some of these inter-diaspora and inter-African diaspora businesses. Where do we get the money? How should we approach that for somebody who finally got the message? Okay, yeah, I can actually do something. Only that I need money to do that. How should they
It's different ways. My theory always is don't go in debt, because debt is another life stealer. So my thing is cooperation. We have to find a way to work cooperatively with each other, use the resources that we have, the skills that we have in order to create new things. See, debt, I really don't like debt, because it's a way of spending your future life. It's a way of spending your future life. We have people in the diaspora who have the financial stability in order to, this scenario. There's a lady with a textile factory in Ghana. She has the skill and the ability to print fabrics and to construct clothing. However, her business can't grow because she needs to upgrade her facility. We get someone from the diaspora who has the capital to invest in her, invest in that. By them investing in that, they then create more jobs and create more wealth for this one business, and it starts to trickle down. So we don't have to go outside of ourselves to find this. And you don't have to always seen. What I noticed, sometimes financial institutions, real story. So I had a friend who had a school, and she wanted to get just some textbooks and some extra chairs and tables. So she wanted to get a loan for that. They said, we can't, that is too little. We can't give you a loan for that, too little. What you need to do is you need to get a smart board. You need to get computers and everything. You need to get this. You need to get a bus. You need to get everything. Now we could give you the loan because now you're asking for enough money. See, that's a trick. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be lured into getting more than you need before you need it. Let's use what we have. So everyone has their group of people, just like they say you matchmaking. If you can't afford a certain woman, she's out of your league. Leave her for someone who can afford her. Same thing. If your pocket says that you could afford to sustain a micro business and help them to produce their shea butter, you could help them purchase their labels and their bottles. So you could invest in that person because that's where your budget is. And then y'all could work cooperatively and nobody feels overpowered or imbalance, right? Because sometimes when you have, which is also dangerous, you have a person who has the skill, who has the talent, who has the intellectual property with no cash, and then a person walks up with all the cash. Then I'm thinking, okay, I brought all the cash, so I should have 80% of this business. I don't like that model either. So I think we should match people by their needs. If you already have a factory and you need $50,000 to upgrade your factory, find someone who has that 50,000 as their loose extra money, who can afford to do that and invest in and match that way. If you have something, if you just I met a lady, she was making fabrics and she worked with a lot of young women, and she said she was trying to stop the teen pregnancy. And she said when she had the girls making fabric and making the kente cloth, they were able to, not have children so early. So if that is your passion and you like to work with young women and women in business, and you have a certain amount of money, maybe $10,000, invest in a person like that and let that grow. And then let the profit, let it go natural. When you have That's when you talk about the GMO and everything. When you have a nice banana tree and you let that grow naturally, the banana is sweet, 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 sweet. But when
Absolutely. Beautiful.
rain, you have a big rain, right? And the banana gets full quick. The banana fresh, 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 have no taste. Have no taste. So sometimes things have to grow in order to be great when it's already produced. When you dump money, too much money into something too quickly, you run into obstacles because you're growing too fast and it's faster than your learning rate.
Thank you so much for that. That is lovely. Now, one of the challenges that we have, and I think you also have encountered that in these African and Native diaspora challenges in terms of businesses, is the payment system. And I think
Mhm.
you already made mention of that, looking at the fintechs and all of that. Okay, we
Yeah.
know the PayPal of the world, the Stripe and the banks and all of that. But there are also be a lot of calls for our own type of payment system that we can control. Of course, it's still global, it's still universal, no? But at least that sort
Mhm.
of respect a little bit of our and I understand who we are, what we need, so that we can easily assess it and things like that. I don't know what kind of challenges you see in those areas in being able to have those payment system. I know there are some available.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not denying that.
I'm not really familiar with fintech, but from speaking with some of the people in our group, we have because okay, within a country, there are fintech issues and payment issues. So as we solve those, then we could look at those systems and see how they could be managed to go cross border. Like I spoke with one gentleman, we have 700 islands in the Bahamas, and there aren't banks in all of these places, and so it was very hard for people, to get money crossed from island to island. And so what they did was they developed an ATM machine that they placed on different family islands that people can now have access to their money and pay their bills. So that was a solution that a private person developed in conjunction with the central bank in order to create ease for people to have money within our country. Now, we would take something like that, and then now they would have to work with whatever the next higher level up is from central bank country to country to figure out how can we create platforms that now align. Because Africa has its platforms, Caribbean is just getting there. We're just getting there because the traditional banking has such a firm hold for so long, and because I'm going to say it, because we have the brain drain in the Caribbean, and so a lot of our younger people who may have been developing the fintech solutions have left because of lack of opportunity and because of stagnation and in policies and everything else like that. So this is also a call for our intellect to come back home. This is also a call for that. So we need to first solve the solution within your country in each Caribbean region, because all borders is a thing. Okay, every time you cross a border, there's another level of something that is almost like a block, like it's on purpose. So we have to first solve the fintech issues and the financial issues within each country, and then we can work together and show the financial institutions that this is something that we need and that we're going to create.
All right. Now, Melissa, tell me, let's look a bit let's try to see Ghana from your eyes because you've been there recently. Tell me, how was your preparation? Because you were physically there, right?
Yes.
Tell me about your
Yes.
preparation and tell me what you eventually saw.
We worked for 8 months to prepare for this event. We really needed a year and a half. Everyone told us you need at least a year. But we knew that the timing, this was the correct timing, and so we pushed for it to happen. We had excellent help on the ground. Yes, it was our first one, so we made mistakes. We made mistakes all over, but we still were able to pull together and focus on the goal that it had to happen. And it was a beautiful event. It was a beautiful event. We had micro businesses there with booths with their product to showcase their products. We had the Jamaican Council there to speak. We had someone from the Office of the President of Ghana there to speak, someone from Trade and Export from the Bahamas, from Freeport and from Ghana. We had people there from the African Free Trade region. We had people there from CPMO's Center for Plant Medical Medicine and Research. So we had a broad spectrum of people there, all with the same goal, that we know that we need to start to work together to solve these problems. And no, it's not perfect, but it's work. And we say that you don't complain because you have a problem. A problem is opportunity. So we have so many opportunities, and it's so ripe for everyone to now get their feet on the ground and get in at this stage and actually develop something. And I see that that's the beauty of it, because sometimes if you go to a country and everything's already taken, like that's what happens here. Everything's already taken. The monopolies are already set. Everyone, the big players already have their stance and their feet are digged in, and you can't get a grip. But when there is an area or a country that is open to development and ripe for development, that is the perfect time. That is the perfect time to join, not to take advantage of, not to take advantage of it and not to exploit, but to work honestly and ethically to build something good. And it's like, if we don't have to have a whole lot of list of rules of this has to happen. If people would just be good to each other. Be good to each other. Don't steal. Don't take advantage. Be fair. The things that you learn from kindergarten. Just be a good person, and let's get this done. And stop trying, because when you try to monopolize someone else or extend yourself too much over another person, it's not going to be successful. It's not going to be successful. So if you're just fair, everyone, it can grow. It can grow.
All right. Now, let's look at a little bit about the logistics of the event. How did you manage to get all these people involved and to buy into the idea that you were selling to them?
Oh, my goodness. I don't even know. We just emails, personal networks. So, because this event, I'm telling you, this started with 3 people. This started with a conversation I had with Robin, and Robin told me to call Sabrina. So it was 3 people had a conversation. And then we brought in our networks, everyone that Robin knows, everyone that Sabrina knows, everyone that I know. And we all went and we networked and we brought people into the group. And we first were trying to form it as a cooperative. So we had about 100 and some people from the Caribbean already. And then Robin moved to Ghana. And so he started his network there with Richard, and we added Richard on. And then Sabrina brought on Rowena, who's a communications person, and she brought on her network. It was through network. We were, and this is out of pocket, no salary. People were coming to me, you need to make sure those people pay you. I said, what people? The people is us. The people are us. We are building this from scratch because it is something that is needed. And that's what we did. So, and from LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, we just got the message out. And it wasn't just on us. I'm going to tell you, it's not by our might, but it's because the time is right, and it's a blessed thing and a needed thing. And when the time is right for something and it's a blessed thing, it takes on its own wings. And the people who are ready for it and the people who it's directed to hear it, and then they also share the message. And that's how it happens. Be yourself. And that's what I started doing. I started just being my true self. If you don't like me and you don't like what I have to say and you don't like how passionate I am, then you're not my people. I am trying to find my people, because in order to make a change, in order to do something like this that has so much resistance, if you don't have passionate people and you don't have dedicated people and strong people, ethical people, people with a backbone, it's not going to get off the ground. So be your true self. Speak your real voice. Speak your truth so that other truth speakers find you. And that is the momentum that you need. You don't need the yes men around you. You don't need those. They can't help you yet. You need the strong people. And how do you find strong people? By you yourself being strong and speaking the truth and saying the things that everyone else is too careful not to say.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, any person listening to you now, Melissa, understands this. Understand that you are really passionate about that. And we need that passion. Passion is energy. Passion is like a burning flame. If you put anything that is not strong there, they will burn. It will burn out. So we need that passion. We need the energy because there is no way something can really be refined without having a strong passion for it. Now, tell me, was there? You were talking about the funding. I don't know if you want to say something more about that because that has become important now for people that want to do something. Maybe they will be saying, "Okay, I don't have." I'm not saying that you are going to do things free in this world. You are going to have to use your own money or use somebody else's money. But talk to us specifically about the funding for your project or a project like this.
Yeah. Well, we used our own money to get this going, and we had a lot of in-kind and other donations from vendors. So as we reached out to different organizations, we had the McDan Group helped us greatly, and they took on the expenses of the advertising, billboards, radio, everything like that. Delta sponsored us, and they gave us a discount with our flights, and many other people. And so this is how it got done, because people who cared about this movement gave of themselves, of in kind and in their treasure and in their time. Because we have like the medical persons at Center for Plant and Medical Research, they gave of their time. They gave their time to help us to do webinars, to get the momentum going, and so everyone could understand what we're trying to do, and we could start to get some groundwork already solved, before the trade show. And so we're still open. We have our website is actlcg.com, and so you can write us there. And if you would like to donate and to help towards this cause, or if you would like to be matched with a small business or a big business, and you would like to help. If you want to invest in Africa, if you want to invest in the Caribbean, or if you want to dedicate your time or your skill, write to us, actlcg.com, and let us know who you are and what you have. Just this morning, I was doing that because we have someone in our group. She's a judge. She has a TV show with court cases. And so we had someone in from the trade show who has a media group. And so he wrote and gave what his description of his business was and what he was looking for. And so just from reading him, I was able to connect him with the person who was looking for something just like that and connect them, and bam. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're connecting people who have similar interests who could then grow their business. So it's like we're planting an orchard. We're planting an orchard. One person has the seed, next one got the soil, we got the water. And then the water is the money, the soil is Africa, and the talent is the seed. And we're bringing all those things together, and we're going to plant a beautiful orchard of all of the talents that we have working together.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, tell me about the lesson. What lesson do you say maybe you take away from this event that you're going to apply in the next one? Definitely a next one is coming, right?
The next one is coming. What we're going to do, I think we need to get, it was a lot of pressure with finances and finding out how to fund and how to pay for everything. So the next time, I'm sure we're going to make sure that we have all of our sponsors nailed down and all of our costs cut. We didn't know, so we just did what we could. For next time, we would try to keep our costs at a minimum for when we're producing the event, and we're going to try to secure our funding ahead of time so that we don't have that type of stress last minute. And then also we have to see, people couldn't come because they couldn't get visas, because they had to travel through the US and they couldn't get the US visas. So there were regulation things that blocked some of the people that wanted to come. So we have to have a team just on that. All those persons who wish to travel, they need sponsors, and if they need to get their visas, to come into Ghana and their visas in order to transit into Ghana. And then we could also work with the airlines at that time. I don't know if we could do it in 1 year, but if we could get some direct flights, if we could just get a direct flight, into the Caribbean, it would make it easier for the rest of the Caribbean to go, because it does. They don't have to come to the Bahamas and St. Lucia and Jamaica. They could just go to one country, and then we could transit from through there. So we need to work on the regulations of people traveling across borders. We need to work on the funding, and we didn't solicit cash like that. We didn't do that. And usually when people have an event, there's a whole team that does that and gets donations. We didn't do that because we were so engrossed in getting the work done, and designing the master classes, in designing the programs, and reaching out and making sure that we got the right people there to speak. We had so much work to do to make sure that it was a quality program, that we really didn't have a fundraising committee who could just focus on that. So there are things that need to be done, things that could be done better. But we're just grateful that at least we got it off the ground, and we just needed to have it. We needed to have it done and just prove that, yes, we want to talk with each other. Yes, we want to have trade. Yes, we need to have some of these legal things done, the trade agreements. We need to have these things done, and so we just had to prove that it is possible. And sometimes once someone does it once, another person can do it, and then that shows them that it can be done. A lot of people don't do things because of the fear. They have to fight back the fear. It can't be done. Everybody tried it and failed. So once someone gets through, it's like the glass ceiling. Once someone gets through and breaks it down, then it's easier for everyone else. And that's what my group, they call me the bulldozer. I call myself the bulldozer because that's what I do. I break stuff down so everybody else can come. But that's what you need. And maybe that's what my passion is all about. I knock it down, and so it's not that scary. It's like, it was just a little pussycat with a big shadow. It's not all of that. You could come. It's safe.
That's lovely. That's lovely, Melissa. That's lovely. Now, let's look at one angle in it. The journey that you undergo. Where did you have the time to also visit some places in Ghana? Was there any particular place or journey or anything that sort of touched you personally in be your first time in Africa or in Ghana?
I did not. I did not, because we were working from day one. And I did not. Initially, we planned to have tours and we planned to go different places. But what happened was we had to meet with people afterwards. What became more important than the sightseeing, culture's great, and we're going to get the culture in. But since we were there for such a short time, what was more important was getting the meetings done. I didn't get to go to everything because I actually had an injury. I had an injury, and so I can't even raise this arm, actually. So I fell the day before the trip, and I hurt myself. So I was in a lot of pain the whole time.
So sorry.
I didn't get to go as many people. That's okay. That's resistance. It was trying to get me not to go. Joke was on it. Joke was on it. There were a lot of things that hindered people, and that was there's the thing is resistance. And when something is new, things will pop up in your life to cause you to change your mind. And so when that happens, you have to push through it. But my teammates, they did a lot of good work. They went to the meetings. They met with people. We have a lot of partnerships. As soon as I think that some came back, I came back yesterday, some coming back today, some coming back tomorrow. So as soon as everybody's back on the ground, and one stayed. So as soon as everybody's stationary, we're going to regroup and look and see, do a big meeting to see what we did right, what we did wrong, what we're going to change. And now the work has started.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Please keep up the fight, keep up the work,
Okay.
keep up this job. This is a mission. And it's a mission that must win.
Yes. And it's time for it. And the same with you, because you gave me my number, 200 million, right? You said it's 200 million. diaspora around the world. Yep.
Thank you, Melissa.
So
You know,
this
this
is it.
we're on this mission together. We're on it
Yes.
together, and we are going to be approaching it from different angle. But at the end, we are
Hmm.
going to win. We are going to
Yes.
win. Yeah,
Yes. There are a lot of us. There are a lot of us with at different angles doing things. There are a lot of us out here doing this. I saw a lady on LinkedIn and she was promoting, not the brain drain, but the brain gain. Bring your intellect back, bring it back.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so there are a lot of people. A lot of people have this same movement, the same need, because we are so talented. We are so talented and we are passionate, and we need to work together. Everyone else works together. We need to work together, and we need to understand why we weren't working together, and we need to overcome the personal things that keeps us from working together.
You see
They're
what I've learned in our project, in with Diaspora project, is there is this really strong Z for us to connect. And this is why we are going to win. Because we just have the time you said was right for it. And the time is really right for us to make this connection. And by the time we put 2 or 3 numbers together, we will see that we can win. We
yes,
will win. Yeah, we will win.
yes, yes, we will. Aw,
So how
this is
can people
nice.
reach out to you, Melissa?
My personal email is shiverbahamas@gmail.com. And you can reach our group at actlcg.com, or you can email me at bahamas@actlcg.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Melissa Darville. Just hit me up on LinkedIn and I will answer you back. That's the easiest way.
Lovely, lovely. Is there anything else you want to say, maybe a message or kind of a way to conclude the conversation?
It's one market, one culture, one economy, and let's build it.
Absolutely. That is too beautiful. I can't even add anything to that. So you have heard the message. This is one culture, one language, one people. Let's build it. Melissa, that is a
Yes,
beautiful message. Thank you so
yes,
much.
yes. Thank you too.